Carla, I've been looking forward to this conversation. Like I mentioned before we started recording, I have so many questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to cover them all, but I recently saw a video that you posted on YouTube, which I think was great, talking about how to get started with speaking engagements. So I want to start. I have another question that I really want to ask, but I want to get your thoughts on how do you recommend people, let's say someone who is out there, they've been to Toastmasters, they know they are a good speaker, they've been invited to some places and they've had a good experience. What are those next steps to go from just doing it as a way to expand your reach and your network to actually getting paid to do it?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I struggled with that so much when I first moved into being a paid speaker. And it's funny that you mentioned Toastmasters because I really honed my speaking skills inside of Toastmasters. I think it's a fantastic organization. I I really believe that the best way to get started is by doing those free engagements. You know, we all have to kind of cut our teeth, if you will, by getting in front of smaller groups. And you're also going to be more comfortable that way. You get a chance to learn how to interact with the audience and read their energy and just really make it, even though you're the one talking, it feels like a conversation. Once you're there, it's really all about mindset. So deciding that you are now a paid speaker and then moving forward and taking actions like a paid speaker would take. So those things include filling out calls for speakers that you find online, creating your speaker package and reaching out to people you know who organize events and letting them know that you're a paid speaker. This is your signature talk theme that you speak on, or if you have one or two signature talks, and then attaching a couple of key documents like a speaker one sheet to say that, you know, this is more about me, and I'd love to talk about how I can support your event. And it's in the conversation now, when you're having that conversation, that you can begin to talk about fees and other value that you can get from those engagements that set you up to be that professional speaker.
And would you say that there are different ways to approach it? Because I know I've read a lot on the topic, and different people recommend different ways of actually monetizing it, right? Some people say, hey, don't charge, just make sure that you are in front of the people who can be your ideal clients and just monetize them as clients, right? That's one way. Another way is to do workshops where you have actually specific activities and specific deliverables that you would have at the end of that activity, and people would leave with just some type of actionable insight. And then there's some that just get paid to go somewhere and give a keynote and speak, right? And you share a couple of stories. Maybe it's a motivational speaker, maybe it's just some high-level insights or even actionable items, but it's not a contingent on any particular deliverables. It's just you're just paid to be the keynote speaker at a particular event. Are there any specific approaches or differences that you've seen depending on which one of those you want to be?
There's so many different ways that you can go with being a professional speaker. And I love that you mentioned the actionable piece that we leave behind, because for me, as I work with speakers, that is key. We're there to deliver some type of a transformation, and people get all wrapped up in that and think, oh my gosh, you know, it has to be huge. No, it doesn't. People just want to know how to get a little bit further in their journey. So even if you're doing that keynote, you should always leave them with the top 2 or 3 things that they can do to create that transformation in their lives. I think most of us that are professional speakers have done that, exactly what you're talking about, that speaking where we don't get paid, and then we have an opportunity to sell on the back end. I'm a big fan of both. So when I work with speakers, I encourage them to have the fee conversation on those events where they start out wanting you to speak for free. And there's some ways that you can do that you can kind of lean into that are comfortable. So if someone says, oh, we really don't have a speaker's budget, then I would say, I am a professional speaker and speaking is part of my revenue stream. can we talk about how we could make it work where I have a stipend in addition to the opportunity to share my products on the back end? Because if they want a quality speaker, if they want someone who knows how to command the stage, and they're not looking for an amateur speaker, most organizations and corporations have the budget. They are reserving it for other things or for the professional speakers. So when you set yourself up to say, I am a professional speaker, I do workshops, I do keynotes, and I will leave your audience with those actionable tips to help them transform X to Y. Can we have that conversation around how we could make it work? I'd love to support your event. Speaking for free is not something that's part of my model. So how could we make that work? Because there's a lot of money we're leaving on the table when we don't get paid. So, if you could get an extra $5,000 to stand up, deliver your message, and then still have that potential to convert clients on the back end, that's way better than a free gig.
Are there any specific ways to promote yourself after the talk that you find work better than others?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you, when I'm sitting, this is like, I'm a speaker's worst nightmare. When I go to conferences, I love going and listening to other speakers, and I will sit and just absorb the information. And I will get up and walk out if it turns into a sales pitch, because I didn't come to be pitched to all day long. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. And so whether I'm speaking at a keynote or I'm doing a workshop or some type of an afternoon breakout, I don't ever sell during my delivery. I am there to deliver value. I am there to connect. I am there to help people make the transition that they want to make in their business and their lives. And I'm very, very focused on that. The way that I sell on the back end, and always get permission beforehand, right? You never want to surprise your event organizer with some type of promotion on the back end, is I'll ask for permission in advance to share an additional resources document with the participants. And I'll ask the organization, the host, if they would prefer to send it out. Sometimes they like to include it in the online notes, like in conferences, your session will be there and there'll be a place where they can click on additional resources. And in my additional resources, I include options on how they can get free value. So I have things like a Facebook group for kind and ambitious women. That's free. Come in and join that. I have a free e-magazine. You can follow me on Instagram. So there's different ways. Oh, and LinkedIn. I always include LinkedIn because I am huge on building my platform on LinkedIn. So here's the different ways you can connect with me. Here's some free resources, and these are by page. So this is like an 8-page document. And then there's the ways that they can work with me that are back-end sales. So like the Get Paid from the Stage program, I would have a page for that. I might have a page, depending on who my audience was, for my membership for kind and ambitious female entrepreneurs. I don't talk about that from the stage. It's included in the notes, other than a very brief mention where I'll say, as we're getting close to wrapping up, not at the very end, because you want to leave them with a zinger that they're going to remember, but as we get close to the end, I'll say something like, inside the show notes, there'll be an additional resources document that you can open up that's going to have all of the information on how you can connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, inside of my community for kind and ambitious women. And it has the additional resources that they can purchase from me. So that will include the Get Paid from the Stage program. And depending on my audience, it's also going to include my membership for kind and ambitious women. So I won't stand on the stage and say, if you want these things, this is how you can get them. I'll simply say, you'll find the additional resources inside of your conference app if you're interested in learning how we can connect or how you can work with me. And then I'll move on, answer some questions, and then close with a really strong close. But what I never do is talk about my products, my services. It's not about me. It's about the audience and the value that I can deliver. And then that is a takeaway document that they can go look at and decide what's going to meet their needs.
Yeah, those are great points, especially the one about not leaving it to the end.